हिफाजत का। कुछ लोग, कुछ मोमिनीन हैं कोरोना के हवाले से भी और मौसम की शिद्दत के हवाले से भी बीमार हैं, मगर अल्हम्दुलिल्लाह अब तक सब कंट्रोल में चल रही है।
अल्लाह शिफा कामिल दे इंशाअल्लाह।
इलाही आमीन सुम्मा आमीन।
सुनो, टाइम क्या हुआ? कितने बजे तक?
बिस्मिल्लाह, ऑनलाइन हो गया। बिस्मिल्लाह।
ठीक है। أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين سيدنا ومولانا بالقاسم محمد وعلى أهل بيته الأطيبين الأنجبين ولعنة الله على أعدائهم أجمعين. Alhamdulillah, we are starting the second session out of 3 on medical fiqh in Islam. And it is interesting to see that we are saying goodbye to 2021 with a very powerful note that we are ready to learn our religion, the madhab of Ahlul Bayt alayhi salatu wasalam, improve ourselves, and inshallah remain steadfast and firm on the path of Almighty Allah Azza wa Jal. So without any further ado, I'd just like to start the session. Those people who are waiting, could you please let them in? Yes, bhai.
Everybody is in.
Okay, that's thank you. So these are the topics we are going to discuss, inshallah, tonight: organ donation, organ selling before and after death, organ transplantation, blood transfusion, rulings of removed body parts, postmortem, autopsy, life support, withdraw or hold in case of brain death, questions on marital relationship. We wanted to discuss some more, but unfortunately, the time wouldn't permit us, so I removed 3 topics. Inshallah, we'll cover them in our next session. So when it comes to organ donation, we have 2 main areas to look into: during the lifetime or after the death. So as long as a person is alive, that person has relatively more control over his body as opposed to after dying. So if a person wants to donate some of the organs from his body, that is allowed as long as it is not posing a serious harm to one's own health. For example, if a person wants to donate one of his kidneys, that person is allowed as long as the other kidney is functioning well and there will be no risk immediately or at a later time to that person's life. Or for example, bone marrow or stem cells, these are allowed to donate. But if a person wants to donate, for example, one eye or one hand to someone, that is absolutely haram and not allowed. And in this situation, there is no difference between Muslim and non-Muslims. So a person can donate to a Muslim and can donate to a non-Muslim as well. Receiving money towards that is also permissible. So a person can donate, or a person can, in fact, receive money for that offering or for that support. So this is during lifetime. But what about if a person has died? So can a person write in his will that after my death, my lungs or my heart or other parts of my body be taken, removed, and attached to another person who is in need? Let's look into that. Yes, so the general ruling is it is not allowed unless for the purpose of saving a Muslim's life. If another Muslim's life is at risk and there is no other way to save that Muslim's life except attaching a body organ from another person's corpse, only then it will be allowed. Other than that, it will not be allowed at all. What about if a person put in his or in her will? That would not be counted. It will not be effective. Am I allowed to consent to organ donation form? Many people ask this question when I go to registry. Sometimes they give me a form and they ask me to sign this form to consent for organ donation if I'm caught up in an accident or there is a brain death for me. Am I allowed to consent? No, we are not allowed to consent to organ donation. We are not, in fact, the owner of our body. Allah Azza wa Jal has created us, and the beginning of religion, the beginning of Islam is from here. That Allah Azza wa Jal is the ultimate sovereign. And Allah Azza wa Jal is to make the decision, both about our souls, both about as well as our bodies. So Allah Azza wa Jal has not allowed, and definitely there are alternative methods to save other people's lives. And as I said, if there is no option to save another Muslim's life except taking some body organs from another dead person's, another dead Muslim's body, then yes, that would be allowed. Can an organ be donated after brain death? No, it cannot be donated. What is the ruling for surgeons, doctors? Are they allowed to separate a body part from a deceased person, from a dead person, and attach it to a living person? Allowed in only two cases. Number one, the deceased is a non-Muslim. So if the deceased is a non-Muslim, then it is allowed. If the deceased is Muslim, then to save another Muslim's life. However, diya will be wajib. So if a person, so diya is not only wajib when a person takes another person's life. If a person, for example, cuts the head of a person, there is half of the diya. So for example, for a person's life, the diya is 1,000 dinar. So if a person severs the head of a person, the diya will be 500 dinar for one hand. So if a person severs both hands, the diya will be, in fact, the full diya penalty. So if a doctor or a surgeon severs the body part, cuts the body part or organ of a person, okay, even after death, there will be diya and penalty for that surgeon, unless before doing so, he discusses with the heirs apparents, inheritors, to forgive him from diya. That will be a different scenario. And if you have questions in your mind, feel free to write in the chat box. Inshallah, at the end of the conversation or discussion, I'll look into chat box and answer to your questions. Sorry, it's written here 10, but we are going to discuss only 7. So 2 and 3 point or topics 2 and 3. Organ transplantation and blood transfusion. The organ of an atheist in a Muslim's body, is it allowed to attach an organ from a kafir or from an atheist or from a mushrik to a Muslim's body? Yes, it is allowed. There is no harm. So when the body part is taken out, whether it comes from a Muslim or from a non-Muslim, that is najis, irrespective of the belief system or the religion of the dead person or living person. The body part which is taken out of the body, that is najis. And once attached, and definitely blood circulation continues, that part will have a Muslim's body's rulings. So that will be considered a Muslim's body part, no longer an atheist or a kafir or mushrik's body part once attached. The organ of a pig or for example, a dog in a Muslim's body, yes, that is also acceptable, and the same ruling would apply as above. Blood donation, transfusion between the genders. So is a man allowed to receive blood from a woman and vice versa, or Muslim and non-Muslims? Yes, that is absolutely allowed. There is no harm. There is no issue at all. And so like organ donation, as long as a person is alive, has full authority to donate blood to a non-Muslim or a blood drive, whether that is for Muslims or for non-Muslims, as we do from Hussaini Association of Calgary. Rulings of operated, removed body parts. So the body parts which are removed from one's body, what are the rulings for them? According to Ayatollah Sistani Damadillo, it should be wrapped in a cloth and buried. That is the standard ruling of Ayatollah Sistani. Ayatollah Khamenei, if it has bone in it, then it should be washed 3 times, wrapped in a cloth and buried. I searched a lot, but I couldn't find Ayatollah Sistani's detailed verdict on that. That what about if the body part has bones in it? Majority of his scholars, I found their opinion, and they say if it has bones in it, bone or bones in it, then it should be washed. Then ghusl should be given and wrapped in a cloth, then buried. But from Ayatollah Sistani's website and other sources that I searched, I just found this ruling. It should be wrapped in a cloth and buried. There was no detail. So I will further research, or I may call to his office and then figure it out. And inshallah, I will update you in next session. Here is another interesting question. Will touching the severed body part mandate ghusl massi mayyit? This is very important for doctors especially, and the same thing goes for the patient. According to Ayatollah Sistani and Khamenei both, it will not mandate ghusl massi mayyit. However, it is mustahab to do ghusl massi mayyit, because ghusl massi mayyit is when you touch the body of a deceased person, and in this case that is not the body of a deceased person, that is just a separated part or separated organ. So ghusl massi mayyit will not be wajib. However, as that part is najis, so if you touch it with wet hand, your hand is wet or that part is wet, then definitely you'll have to wash your hand. Will touching the aborted fetus require ghusl masih? So if there was a miscarriage or abortion and the child was over 4 months or over, then the person who did so, the doctor, and the same thing applies with the mother. If mother's body comes in direct touch, mother's body means not internal part, external part of the body comes in direct touch with that fetus or any other person, anyone who touches that fetus or that aborted child will be responsible to perform ghusl masih mayyit. And if they don't do ghusl masih mayyit, then the salah that they will be praying without ghusl masih mayyit will not be considered the salah, and they will be responsible to redo all the salah. However, if they do in fact ghusl janaba, for example, definitely the mother was married and the child was born or miscarried or aborted, and she touched the child. She didn't do ghusl masih mayyit, so for a couple of days the prayers she has offered, she will have to redo all those prayers. However, if she engages in physical relationship with her husband and then she performs ghusl janaba, then the salah that she will perform after that ghusl janaba will be intact, and fasting will not be affected by that. Okay. Topic number 5, postmortem autopsy. Again, we need to divide it into 2 portions: Muslims' corpse, non-Muslims' corpse. So postmortem not allowed on a Muslim at all. Okay, and if postmortem is done after death, the body is still sacred. So like a person is alive, the body is sacred, and the due respect must be given to the mu'min or mu'mina, and the same respect will be given to that person even after death, as long as that person is with us. So not allowed to hurt the body in any way. Okay, and definitely operating the body, doing postmortem or autopsy, is one of the gravest forms of hurting the body. So that is not allowed. And if someone does so, there is a penalty as well. So you'll have to pay the penalty, unless required for necessary learning purpose. So for example, there are medical students and they want to learn about anatomy, and there is no other option before their hands to learn about anatomy without operating a dead person's body, and there is no non-Muslim's body available, and they have to operate the dead body so they can save other people's lives at present or in future. If these 2 conditions are met, then postmortem or autopsy will be allowed. And the second exception will be if it is required by the law. For example, if there is an accident or there is a suspicious death, and according to the law of the country, the body should go through postmortem or autopsy to figure out the cause of the death, then our hands are tied and we cannot stop that. And in that case, if justice depends on if serving the justice depends on autopsy, then again it would be allowed. Non-Muslims corpse, if allowed in his or her religion. For example, there are non-Muslims, Christians, Jews. If according to their madhab, according to their religion, it is allowed, then for a Muslim doctor or for a non-Muslim doctor, it would be absolutely allowed to perform that autopsy or postmortem. Okay. Ghusl Massi Mayyit for medical students. If they touch human corpse, even for learning purpose or for any other purpose, if they touch the human body after death and after getting cold, the body has become cold, and they touch the body with their naked hand, then Ghusl Massi Mayyit will be wajib. Okay. What about animals' carcass? No, animals' carcass, they are najis, but Ghusl Massi Mayyit is not wajib. It is only human being. From all the creatures, if someone touches that human being, people are very boastful and very arrogant about their body, and this is the end result of your body, our body, that it becomes even more najis than a dog, than a pig. If our body is respected, it is only because of our soul. It is because of our virtues. Once the soul has departed the body, then our body has no value in reality. And it becomes even more najis than a dog's body and a pig's body. And if you touch a dog's body and a pig's body with wet hand, you only need to wash your hand. But if you touch a human's body, then you'll have to do the ghusl. Yes, if there is in fact respect for human body, even after death, that is, as I mentioned before, and 3 ghusls should be given, and then hunud should be applied, and then kafan should be given in that magnificent method prescribed by the madhab of Ahlul Bayt alayhi salatu wasalam, and buried with due respect. This is because of Iman, this is because of Islam, not because of our body. This is another practical question which is asked generally by Muslims. Life support, withdraw or hold in case of brain death. It is something must not be done, and there is no much questions. In fact, I searched a lot, but there is no way. Not allowed to remove the life support machine as long as heart and lungs are functioning, even with the support of machine. Okay, so that is not allowed. Sometimes doctors say, oh, the patient is in pain, so it doesn't matter whether the patient is in pain. If someone is in pain, we don't give ourselves rights to kill that person, to take that person's life. So even though his brain is dead, and apparently there is no way for that person to come back to normal life, but as long as the heart is functioning, it is not allowed. It is definitely a fiqh, a jurisprudential matter. Perhaps when the science advances and our scholars have greater evidences for the death of that person, they may change their ruling. But for the time being, this is the standard ruling of all our maraja, that do not allow removal of the life support machine, even though all the doctors confirm that this person is scientifically dead and his brain cannot come back to life. This person will not survive for a longer period of time. Another question related to the similar topic is mercy killing or euthanasia permitted with the consent of the patient. No, it's not permitted at all. It's absolutely haram. And if a doctor does so, he will be responsible for the penalty. And it will be considered a grave sin, which is haram. Okay. So today we are going, inshallah, to finish apparently earlier. And that's good. We'll have more time for questions and answers. So this is topic number 7. Marital relationship. If you have questions, don't feel shy. Please drop the questions in chat box. We'll discuss at the end. So masturbation, is it allowed in Islam? Is it healthy? There are some, in fact, doctors who say it is healthy, but there are other doctors, there are other researchers who strongly oppose that. And they say it's absolutely harmful. There are many consequences for that. And of course, the biggest doctor is Allah Azza wa Jal. He is our creator. He is our manufacturer. نحن أقرب إليه من حبل الوريد. He is closer to us than our jugular vein. No one knows us better than Allah Azza wa Jal. And in his book, which is Quran, he has forbidden that kind of sexual or sensual pleasure. Allah Azza wa Jal says, فَمَنِ ابْتَغَى وَرَاءَ ذَلِكَ فَأُولَٰئِكَ هُمُ الْعَادُونَ. Those who cross the limits. So from Islamic perspective, there are only one way, or you can say 2 ways. There were 2 ways, but now is only 1 way. That is marital relationship. Previously, there was, in fact, Kani's system as well. So slave girls, once a person purchased a slave woman, a slave girl, so that purchasing was considered like nikah. There was formula, like there is formula in nikah. So that is very straightforward. There are no restrictions. When a woman says, "Ankahtuki nafsi," I'm in your nikah, and person says, "Qabiltu," they become halal from Islamic perspective. And in the same way, when they used to purchase, in fact, slave girls, they used to recite a formula, and after reciting that formula, that slave girl or slave woman would become halal for her owner. Okay. So there were only 2 methods. These are 2 methods mentioned in Surah Mu'minun. Other than that, if someone goes in any other direction, if someone does any other thing, that is considered haram. Humul aadun. Aadun means transgressors. Okay. فَأُولَٰئِكَ هُمُ الْعَادُونَ فَمَنِ ابْتَغَى. Those who seek sensual pleasure, وَرَاءَ ذَلِكَ, beyond what has been mentioned. As I explained, فَأُولَٰئِكَ هُمُ الْعَادُونَ. Indeed, these people will be the transgressors. So masturbation is definitely not included in those 2 halal methods. However, and there are in fact a lot of ahadith from Ahlul Bayt alayhimu salatu wasalam as well, which prohibit masturbation strongly. And they say if someone commits this sin, his example will be like the one who has engaged in nikah with himself or herself. Okay, so and that becomes an addiction. If someone engages in that, gradually that becomes an addiction. And once it becomes addiction, then definitely all the doctors confirm, then that would be detrimental. That would damage the nervous system. A person will not have a coordinated relationship mentally, physically, and a person even will not be able to perform in physical relationship after marriage. So these are in fact side effects of, and there are many side effects of masturbation. Okay. However, in other madhahib, unfortunately, there are certain madhahib which do allow. And here is an example. You can just watch.
would like to point out to him. Now, there are scholars who.
So I hope you all recognize this face. He is an example of Yazidi in our time. And the person who glorifies Yazid, definitely, it is expected that he will promote such dirty and filthy practice. He is a big promoter of masturbation.
He said masturbation is not haram. Al-Atrazi, he said not haram when relieving oneself from the stress of it.
He mentions the scholars of his faith who say that masturbation is not allowed. Masturbation is allowed.
Abu Bakr al-Iskaf, not haram when avoiding doing sin. Ibn Abidin, not haram when relieving oneself from the stress of lust, but it is haram to stimulate oneself sexually in order to masturbate. Fourth, Ibn al-Humam, not haram when relieving oneself from the stress of lust.
Yes, so this is in fact their opinion, and his claim is that majority of people do that. So majority of people do a lot of things. So majority of people do a lot of things will not make anything haram. And it is also in fact a kind of very cunning method to promote something which is not acceptable, to say all the people do that. So first of all, how do you know that all the people do that? There are a lot of people who don't do that. So they say, oh, statistics say that 99.99%. Okay. First of all, these statistics are in majority of cases false. They're just misguiding, and they just want to make something normal by increasing in the numbers of statistics or participants in those statistics. Who participated? Who did you interview? That also depends. And even if the whole world is doing something which is haram, haram will remain haram. Allah Azza wa Jalla says in Quran, فَمَنِ ابْتَغَى وَرَاءَ ذَلِكَ فَأُولَٰئِكَ هُمُ الْعَادُونَ. And unfortunately, it is also allowed in Hanafi fiqh. Okay. So this is, I've learned that in fact, not only unmarried people commit this sin, but even those people who are married, they also commit this sin. And that's really weird, strange. And of course, the sin will be even harsher for that. Rulings of male and female organs discharges. Men, there is something called madhi, which I think in English they call it precum. There is a purpose for that lubricates their organ. So when the actual semen comes out, the person is not hurt. It is tahir or najis. This is a question. So this liquid which comes out of person's male organ, it is tahir, it is not najis. And wudu is valid or invalid. If it comes out, then wudu is not invalid. However, if a person has done istibra, if a person hasn't done istibra, then as it will be contaminated with urine, it will be considered najis, and it will invalidate the wudu as well. And if you want to learn about istibra, you can go to this website, you can take a picture, and you can go to this link, sistani.org, English QA 01226. It will give you definitely the details about istibra. Here it is. Okay. It will teach you the method. Okay. When it comes to women, the fluid comes out of their body when they are engaged in foreplay or when they are engaged with their husband. If it comes with orgasm, then that is considered najis, and ghusl becomes wajib according to majority of marajih. If it doesn't come with that feeling, with that sensation, then that is the normal liquid, and that is pak, and that is tahir, and there is no responsibility on them. And also, there are different types of blood for women that they see sometimes some spotting and some stains. So again, I don't feel comfortable to explain these things. So here is the link. I know very well, but it doesn't sound decency for me to explain these things in detail. So here is the link, and our sisters, if they want to learn about that, they can go on this link and acquaint themselves very well with different types of bloods and spottings and all this stuff. And if you still need someone's support, please feel free to call my wife, or you can call me and ask me to provide you her number. She is, mashallah, fully educated, and she will give you the required details. Okay. Not praying for 40 days after delivery. This is another question that I've been asked repeatedly, that women, after delivery, they stop praying, and they don't pray for 40 days. And it is quite unfortunately established, deeply rooted in our community. And that's really strange. Even our madhabi, those who are religious and practicing sisters, they avoid praying. I'm not talking about all of them. I mean those who come to majalis, those who come to Hassaniya, even some from among them as well, they are caught up in this superstition. I would use the word superstition. That is just a superstition. It has no weight, no base, no ground in Islam. So there is in fact a kind of blood called nifas. So as long as that keeps coming, they are not allowed to pray, and physical relationship will not be allowed with them. So hayd and nifas, in those two conditions, physical relationship is forbidden. But that the maximum days that kind of bleeding can occur is no more than 10 days. So maximum, that is maximum. It could be in fact just for a couple of seconds, from a couple of seconds to a maximum of 10 days. Again, if you go to the same link, you will find the details over there. Okay, and this is also a common question that people ask: oral and anal relationship. Again, it doesn't sound right to discuss this question. Before or instead of discussing that, let me put it in a different way. What is wajib on a woman in this respect? So it is again a kind of misunderstanding by men, that whatever they want, their wives are responsible for that. And women also think like that. It is not the case. There are some Shari'i limits. So as I mentioned, when woman is not fit from Shari'i perspective, the husband is not allowed to demand for a physical relationship. And if there is in fact something which is harmful, STD, sexually transmitted diseases, if there are risks for certain types of practices, then if the risk is significant, then the woman is definitely allowed to refuse that, and man is not allowed to demand for that. And in those two cases, generally the risk is there. Medically, the risk is there. From medical perspective, it is not safe. There could be different types of risks involved in that type of freaky relationship. And also, the woman doesn't have any logical deterrence. For example, the death of the next of kin, or she is in depression due to any reason, then she can refuse. Or if husband demands for abnormal relationship, such as in the above, then again the woman can refuse. Unethical, extremely discouraged. From Fiqh perspective, as primary ruling, these two are extremely discouraged. However, if woman doesn't allow, then these would not be allowed. And if there are risk factors, health risk factors, then they would come under the category of haram. Or if woman finds certain type of relationship hurting or insulting or disgusting, then again she has the right to refuse. But yes, normal relationship, a woman is not allowed to refuse without any shar'i, medical, or logical deterrence. Okay. Last point that I'd like to discuss, and this type of demands from a husband generally come because of something which I want to discuss here, and that is called pornography, or that is called filthy content. And unfortunately, I would say this is the most elusive addiction of 21st century, which generally men are involved. Men are caught up in, even women. But majority of victims of this kind of addiction are men. What are the causes? Widely accessible. 2/3 of internet content is unfortunately pornographic or filthy, disgusting. And it's free. Above all, nafs, shaitan, they are there. Okay. When a person enters in this practice or in this addiction, it's very, very difficult for that person to come back. However, if someone has been addicted to this kind of addiction, it is considered addiction. And there is a chemical, it gets released from our brain called dopamine. I'm not going in all these details because it will take a lot of time. So let's just put in a different way, let's just discuss some solutions for that. And it's extremely dangerous. It harms a person bodily, intellectually, psychologically, mentally. All sorts of health are jeopardized, are at risk when someone engages in that kind of pornography. Another disgusting or dangerous aspect of this kind of addiction is that the person next to you is involved in that kind of addiction, the person who is sitting next to you, but you cannot figure it out. Unlike other sorts of addiction, if a person is drug addict, for example, just by watching him, the way he walks, you can easily identify that person was an addicted person. But this is something extremely dangerous. And it is very common, even unfortunately, among religious people. In Islamic countries, so-called Islamic countries, they are full of our young people. I don't want to go in detail, but their faith has been shaken because of this addiction. They don't pay much attention to their salah. They eventually think about atheism. One of the reasons of rise in atheism, Allah says, is there any doubt about Allah Azza wa Jal, who is the creator of the heavens and the earth? But in our contemporary world, atheism is on rise. Denial of God, not only having doubts about Allah Azza wa Jal, openly denial of God has become common. Why? Because of this. When a person gets engaged in that, then spirituality, faith, love of Allah Azza wa Jal, fear of Akhirah, everything is compromised. And a person becomes an innocent person becomes a proper victim. Okay, so here are some solutions that are put here. I'll just read and then conclude. Shutting down the triggers. Allah Azza wa Jal, when talks about hijab, He says, وَقُلْ لِلْمُؤْمِنِينَ يَغُضُّوا مِنْ أَبْصَارِهِمْ وَيَحْفَظُوا فُرُوجَهُم. So our purpose is what? يَحْفَظُوا فُرُوجَهُم. Safeguarding our modesty, our private parts. How will that be achieved? In the first sentence, يَغُضُّوا مِنْ أَبْصَارِهِمْ. Lower your gazes. If you lower your gazes, then inshallah you will be protected. You will be in safe zone. You will be successful in achieving your goal of observing your modesty. But if you fail here, يَغُضُّوا مِنْ أَبْصَارِهِمْ, then there is no chance for your success. Triggers are not necessarily explicit contents. It can be many things, including movies, dramas, Netflix games, Netflix shows, sitcoms, clothing. Honestly speaking, when I came to England, people suggested me in order to improve my English, I should watch movies, English movies. Based on my finding, there is only one type of program that we can watch, and that is documentaries. Other than documentaries, no English program can be watched from Shari'i perspective. So best option is you don't watch TV at all. If you can do so, you will be free from another type of addiction. You will be free from thinking about those fiction or fictitious personalities, and you'll have plenty of time to think about Allah Azza wa Jal, to think about Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam. You have plenty of time to evolve yourself, to transform yourself, to improve yourself. A lot of time, especially our sisters' time, is taken up in dramas, show after show, drama after drama, episode after episode. It gives you nothing, believe me. You like or don't like, but this is the reality. It will not give you anything. It will just take from you peace of your mind, your religiosity, your innocence, your love for Allah, your love for Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam, your akhirah. It will take everything. And in return, it will give you nothing. In the beginning, you may find it very difficult. Oh, there is a vacuum in my life. I don't feel fulfilled. But there are healthy methods to get fulfilled. And you need to explore that. In some cases, it can be a poster that will trigger for a person to go and start watching pornography again. There are many people, even learned people, they've made many resolutions that they will not go back to this filthy content or the disaster of our century. However, they fail. They make the resolutions that last only for a couple of days, then they fail. That is called proper addiction. Okay, so poster, banner, staring at a person. يَغُضُّ مِنْ أَبْصَارِهِمْ covers everything. So everything should be stopped. Anything which could work as triggers should be avoided. And there is something really easy and free that all the parents can do at their homes. Oh, my child is very good. No doubt your child is very good. But what about his or her friends? What about school friends? What about environment? What about shaitan? Is shaitan also very good? Is nafs also very good? So don't be naive. Be intelligent, be wise, and make wise decisions. And one of the wise decisions that you can make, you block your internet server. And it's very easy. If you follow this link and you change the DNS system of your internet or service provider, whether that is Shaw or Telus or any other, no filthy content will come up, no explicit content will come up on internet, whether it is used on phone or on tablets or on computers. So that will give you some sort of protection. However, YouTube will be already there, and there are in fact parental control that you can apply, and sometimes you'll have to pay. This is free, but there are other options which are not free, but again, that is worth. But the ultimate blocker is taqwa. The ultimate blocker is taqwa. All the blockers could be violated, could be avoided, could be skipped. There are methods. In the beginning, children will not know, and even if they don't know for certain period of time, for example, 4 or 5 years, that is worth. I'm not saying that is not worth, but the ultimate blocker is taqwa. Imam Ali alayhi salatu wasalam used to say, "Allah fasunuha tasunu biha." You safeguard your taqwa, and in return, your taqwa will protect you, will safeguard. So if we maintain our taqwa, then inshallah we are protected. If we always feel connected with Allah Azza wa Jal, if we feel in love with Allah, only fear of Allah Azza wa Jal is not going to work. We need to elevate ourselves from fear of Allah to the love of Allah Azza wa Jal. And that is easily doable. We should remember Allah Azza wa Jal's blessings. We should remember Allah Azza wa Jal's favor. We'll not find anyone more loving than Allah Azza wa Jal. And that will be the beginning of our real taqwa, and that will be the real blocker of this kind of addiction or any kind of addiction. Number 2, always ask Allah Azza wa Jal, La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. There is no strength, there is no power in other than Allah. Wa idha maridtu fahuwa yashfin. When I fall sick, it is Allah Azza wa Jal who grants me shafa. So this is also a kind of illness. So from that illness, only Allah Azza wa Jal can free person. Number 3, keep your target small for 3 days, 1 week, 1 month, etc., and keep increasing it. Number 3, keep your target. Number 4, don't punish yourself. Punishment doesn't work. Addiction in general, and this one specifically, is very compulsive. It comes back again and again. So don't punish. If you fail, evaluate yourself, make another resolution, repent, and come up with another force connected by Allah Azza wa Jal. The elders and leaders should understand this reality. Shouting haram, haram is not going to solve this issue. We need to follow the method of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. A man came to Rasulullah, a young man, and he said, Ya Rasulullah, I'm addicted to na'udhu billah, haram relationship. He said that openly, and everyone was just staring at him as if they wanted to devour that young man. But Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam asked him to come closer, come closer, come closer, until he reached exactly in front of Rasulullah. Rasulullah asked him to sit down. He sat down. And Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam started talking to him in a very loving and caring manner. Atardahu li ummik, the sin that you mentioned, would you allow yourself to be angry that someone does to your mom, to your sister, to your aunt? Rasulullah mentioned several relationships. The person said each time, no, never, never, never. Rasulullah asked that person, the women, you look at them from this perspective, they are also someone's daughter, they are also someone's sister, someone's aunt. And then Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam prayed to Allah Azza wa Jal, put his hand on his chest and prayed to Allah Azza wa Jal. Oh Allah, remove this filth from his heart and bring peace and your love and replace with that filth which has covered his faith. So if you pay attention, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam first convince that person on both intellectual and emotional level, then prayed for him. Replace this bad habit with positive habits, e.g., reading books, watching documentaries, watching Islamic films, serials, sports, martial arts, engage in martial arts, exercise. Generally, people have a specific time for watching immoral content. Never sit on computer or never use any device at that time. Number 8, remind yourself death and Qiyamah constantly. Apply a home screen if that works for you, on your computer, on your gadget, which reminds you of Akhirah or Qiyamah. Educate yourself about this industry. It's extremely dangerous. Their abuse of women and exploitation. The Innocent of Muslims, the film which explicitly desecrated Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that was made by this industry. You are supporting these industries at each click. So always remember that. Try to help others who are caught up in this trap. Fasting, this is a method prescribed by Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam to keep under control their desires and haram thoughts. Frequent recitation of Quran. وَنُنَزِّلُ مِنَ الْقُرْآنِ مَا هُوَ شِفَاءٌ وَرَحْمَةٌ لِلْمُؤْمِنِينَ. Quran is shifa, healing. So this is a sickness. So if a person recites Quran frequently, he is connected with the healing power. Charity. This is one of the greatest bala, tribulations. So charity removes bala. Okay. وآخر دعوانا عن الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله على محمد وآله الطاهرين ولعنة الله على أعدائهم أجمعين. We completed Alhamdulillah exactly at 8:30. So now let me just look into the questions. If there are questions, I'll reply, and then inshallah we'll conclude the session. Assalamu alaikum wa alaikum assalam. In regards to cutting the body parts of a dead body by doctors, not allowed during medical school years. As part of curriculum, students have to dissect bodies. Would they have to pay diyat in that case? If the body was of non-Muslim, then they won't have to pay the diyah, because generally they allow that. So if they allow themselves and their religion also allows, then there will be no diyah for that. Another question: if we are allowed to take the body part of non-Muslim after his or her death, then why isn't it allowed for a Muslim to donate his or her body part after death to save a non-Muslim's life? Isn't that unfair? It is not unfair, because you are not snatching from them. If you are taking from them forcefully, then it will be unfair. If they are giving according to their understanding, according to their belief or disbelief, that is their choice, and that is their action. We are not responsible for their actions, but according to their belief, they are allowed to give. According to our belief, we are not allowed to give. So we'll not give. So there is no unfair. Yes, if you forcefully, if someone, for example, kidnaps a non-Muslim or a Muslim and forcefully takes out their body organs and attach to theirs or their beloved ones, that would be absolutely unfair and unjust. Assalamu alaikum wa alaikum assalam. If there is age difference between more than 13 years and they don't ruju sometime more than 3 months, then what choice this couple? So there are some missing words, I think. And the woman not allowed man to do second marriage, and the woman not allowed man to do second marriage. The land of law don't allow to marriage. What is the option? So I couldn't fully understand what you mean, brother or sister. But what I can guess is that you are asking about the physical relationship. So if there are 3 months, so first of all, it's not 3 months. It is wajib on a man to engage in physical relationship with his wife within 4 months. So beyond that limit, it is haram for a man to not engage in physical relationship without her consent. But if she consents, then it would be allowed to go even longer without engaging in physical relationship. And I think your question is about the man. So if a woman refuses physical relationship to her husband, then what should the man be doing? Yes, he's not allowed for second marriage according to the law of the country, but he can divorce his wife if she doesn't accept her legitimate demands. Then a man has the right to divorce his wife and get engaged with someone who can cooperate with. Yes, so that would be the best option. Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah. If someone has their wasiya will, do not put me on life support, what we should do in that case? If putting on life support is necessary, then again this wasiya will not have any effectiveness. A person cannot make wasiya for suicide. This will be considered a kind of suicidal. If putting on life machine is necessary for a person to survive, to be treated, then putting him will be required. What about if someone can't afford the cost of life supporting devices? If they cannot afford, then that would be definitely a different scenario. They can contact their marja and seek their help in that situation. If marja is able to support them financially, definitely they will support. Otherwise, they will give you the practical advice. Yes, please go ahead and ask the question. Can I have a question? You can have a question. You can speak out.
जी सलाम अलैकुम कबिला, मैं लिबास बात कर रहा हूँ एडमिंटन से। आपने अभी लाइफ सपोर्टिंग के बारे में बताया कि अगर खुदा न खास्ता किसी को लाइफ सपोर्टिंग लगी हुई है तो वो हम उसको डिसएंगेज नहीं कर सकते, राइट? और क्या ये हमारा राइट है या हम परमिसिबल हैं कि हम उसकी जो भी या तो खुदा न खास्ता मरने वाला है या एक्सीडेंट में इतना शदीद है, तो क्या ये परमिसिबल है कि सारी इक्विपमेंट्स होते हुए भी हम उसको लाइफ सपोर्ट दें या ना दें?
That would depend on medical experts. If medical experts say that putting him on life support can extend his life, or in future there is a chance that that person may recover, even though the slightest chance, even 1%, then we will have to listen to them and we'll have to put that person on life support. Okay? Okay. Jazakallah for great. Thank you very much, brother. Jazakumullah khaira. Jazakumullah khaira to everybody for being part of this discussion. And we pray to Allah Azza wa Jal that Allah Azza wa Jal allows us all to live the life of Islam. And as Allah Azza wa Jal says in Quran, فَلَا تَمُوتُنَّ إِلَّا وَأَنْتُمْ مُسْلِمُونَ, don't die except with Islam. And the key of dying with Islam is living with Islam. May Allah Azza wa Jalla allow all of us to live with Islam. So inshallah, we can die with Islam. We can be prosperous in this world and in the hereafter. Islam is to safeguard our prosperity in both worlds. And that's why we all are Muslims. Allah Azza wa Jalla is generous to send us this beautiful religion. It is our responsibility to hold it firmly and take it seriously. Wa akhiru da'wana anil hamdulillahi rabbil alameen wa sallallahu ala Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad.